Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
I had been dating this girl for a long period, and I swear things never had been smooth between us. She was my stepsister's best friend and would often come to stay at our place. We interacted a lot of times and also spent time together as my sister would take her along on family picnics. Both my sister and my girlfriend had been very loud, talkative, and self-centered girls. I knew she was a bit difficult, but never had an idea that she could be just impossible. We soon started dating and used to hang out a lot. Either I would take her out or she would have come over to see my sister. We hid our relationship from my sister because I knew she would not keep quiet and the news would be everywhere. It was also very difficult to convince my girlfriend to stay quiet over the matter because she thought I was not serious and was just messing around. But my sister soon got to know, and to my surprise, she was excited to know this, but also was upset because I wanted to keep it a secret. As she knew then, it got easier for us to hang out as my girlfriend did not have to explain to my sister where she had been. I graduated and started freelancing because I wanted to move out of my parents' house as soon as possible. This was just a goal, and I was working hard towards it. I was able to afford to rent an apartment within 6 months and moved out. I was hired as a software engineer 2 months later and was now able to afford a good lifestyle. My girlfriend was excited to move in with me but wanted to wait till her graduation. She moved right after graduating, and it was the time we got to know each other. I never objected to her expenditures, her parties, or her road trips. Worth mentioning that she was not working and did not even want to work, as according to her, she was just not the work type. I had no problems with it and I loved her so much, but deep down I knew how hard I had earned that money she was spending without even thinking. The real problem I had was her guy friends. I'm not against it and had never stopped her from going out with them, but she was too comfortable with them, and the guys would say anything and everything without any filters. This group chat would get dirty, and my girlfriend enjoyed it so much. We had a lot of fights. She would call me a sick, narrow-minded, and stereotypical boyfriend, while I would just request her to avoid such vulgar discussions. One day, the same issue triggered a fight between us, and she said that she was done with me and could not stay in jail. She packed her stuff and left my apartment. I didn't even think to try to contact her because I was also done with her behavior, as she acted as if she would never care in her life how I felt. A few days passed. She texted me that she needed some money to buy some essential products. I told her that she was not my responsibility and should ask her parents to buy her the stuff. She told me that we were not over, and that was just a fight, so I should not act like a sick person. I did not want to argue any further and transferred her the amount. There were no texts from her the following weekend. I didn't even try to contact her as I was pissed. Then one day she texted me that she wanted to see me and would come over when I would be back from the office. She came over, we had tea together, and she apologized for her behavior. I was surprised to see this. She went on and said that she had hurt me a lot and wanted to make up for everything. She asked me if I feared she would ditch me and get along with one of her guy friends. I could not help and laughed. I told her that I was only uncomfortable with her getting cozy around her guy friends. She told me that everything would get better if we both got married. I was amazed to hear that. I didn't speak a word because I was processing the situation in my mind. I told her we would think about it and decide something. Now, the thing is, our relationship is already rocky, and she's an almost impossible woman. It is not that I never loved her or cared for her. It's that I fear we would never adjust and the relationship between us would crumble sooner or later. Am I being too selfish? AITA? As we had dated for a long period, I had a commitment to her, and also she promised to understand me onwards. So we decided to get married. Our families got together and we fixed our wedding date. She moved back with me and we started the preparations. I had discussed my whole budget with her and explained everything explicitly. I told her where we could spend more and where we had to make cutbacks. We both agreed on a garden wedding, and the guest list was limited. She had reduced the guest list and the dishes to be served because she wanted to purchase a designer gown. I had no issues with it, as I knew it was our day and she deserved everything to be perfect. We got married, and everything went so well. She was right to some extent, as things had gotten well between us. Maybe it was the new beginning vibes, or that we knew that we were now permanently bound together. I resumed my office a week later, and our life came back to the normal routine. She had this habit of staying awake late at night and waking up late in the morning, so she usually did not accompany me to the breakfast table. We were two different people who were trying their best to adjust in a marriage, as dating is completely a different thing. One day, when I came back from the office, she told me that the apartment did not have enough space. I asked her what she meant, as it was just us who had been living there for a while now. She told me that as we were married now, the apartment was not enough for us. I told her that it was two of us when we were dating and still two of us after getting married. I told her that if we planned to start a family, we would think about switching the apartment, but she was not ready to listen, so I had to submit. It now seems like nothing has changed and our relationship is only going to get harder onwards. We found a suitable apartment and shifted within 2 months. Worth mentioning, the previous apartment was a one-bedroom apartment, which was enough for us according to me, and now we had switched to a two-bedroom apartment. She had to buy a lot of new stuff for the lounge and the kitchen. She also had to buy the furniture and cutlery. We had spent a lot on this, and I was now a bit burdened. We had already spent much on the wedding and then shifted after 4 months, which made me exhausted. I discussed my financial tension with my mom, and she said that it was the process and a family always meant extra expenditures, so I had to be ready for this. After 2 months in this new apartment, I didn't know what was coming my way. My wife told me that she needed a car, as it would be too hectic for her to book taxis to move around the city on weekends or whenever she had to go out. I told her that she could use my car, to which she said that she could not wait for me to return from the office just to go to the mall. I told her that there was no other way other than both of us using the same car. She asked me if I could buy a car in installments, as I was receiving a good salary. I told her that she had lost her mind and went to freshen up. I told myself that I was not going to follow her directions this time because I had had enough. Just a few hours later, at the dinner table, my wife told me that it was all right and that she did not want me to buy a car for her. She told me that she could use my car, but there was a condition. And when I asked about the condition, I was shocked to know how a person could be that heartless. She told me that the car would stay in the parking of our block, as she could need it at any time and I could use public transport to get to the office. I told her that it was never going to happen, as the company had provided me with the car and it was supposed to be used for official work only. I yelled that she had lost her mind and needed help. I told her that if she wanted all the luxuries and wanted to buy whatever she liked, she could work and earn for herself, and I left the table. My wife did not talk to me for days and showed me a cold shoulder, but I was determined not to give up this time. She had to learn about certain things and manage the expenses, as it was hard-earned money. How could she treat me like an ATM when she refused to work? A few months passed, and there were always fights and arguments between us, especially because of her financial mismanagement. I was slowly losing hope in her, as she was not ready to change or at least adjust, and it was tiring me a lot. One day she told me that she had a hair appointment and I had to come back early to take her there, as she was not using public transport. I told her that I would try my best to be on time. I finished my due work in the office and quickly left for home. I was supposed to pick up some stuff from the store, and while I was crossing the road, a car hit me. I was rushed to the hospital. There were very minor scratches and a cut on my forehead, which was dressed by the nurse. I returned home to a furious wife who yelled at me that I had made her miss her appointment. She even threw things at me when she could see a bandage on my forehead. I told her what had happened, but she was just continuously yelling at me. I told her to leave, to which she replied that she was already going and was done with me. There was no contact between us for a couple of weeks, and then she called me one day and told me that she needed money. I was so enraged that I would have punched her if she was there. I called her again and told her that she would receive an envelope with the cash. I had sent her divorce papers in that envelope, and on receiving them, she continuously called me until I responded. She told me that she would sue me for violence, to which I replied that I had already filed a report against her for mentally and financially abusing me. NTA, even reading the post exhausted me. The OP should have read the signs before getting married, as she was showing red flags far before. OP learned a lot about her when she moved in with him, so he could have reconsidered his decision of marrying her. OP was late to respond to her toxicity, as she had already done a lot of damage. Reading about OP being financially stressed and discussing it with his mom broke my heart. NTA, OP's wife was a bitch of a person. Maybe they managed to stay in the relationship for long because they were not living together because the marriage did not even reach the first anniversary, I guess. OP's wife was unbearable and a pain in the ass. OP should have kicked her out long ago. She was just not ready to understand or cope with her husband. If she was so extravagant, she could simply earn for herself and let the OP breathe.
Next story.
I work in the hospitality industry, and my girlfriend is a teacher. My company has 8 restaurants, and I am the operation manager. For some time, I was dreaming of opening my own restaurant. My girlfriend's family owns a commercial property. Her dad shut down his business because my girlfriend and her sister were not interested in their family business. Her sister and her husband work in IT and live in another city. Last year, her parents suggested I can rent their empty property to start my own restaurant. I told them I wouldn't be able to pay any deposit money right now, but they were fine with just monthly rent and told me to go ahead with my plan. I quit my job since I had to spend most of the day visiting and talking to various vendors. I started to buy kitchen equipment. I sent them the rent agreement papers that it was required to get all the necessary licenses. After about 2 weeks, they called me over for dinner and informed me that my girlfriend's sister had decided to come back and wanted the property to open their own business. They think it's the only way for her to come back, as there are very few IT companies in our city. I was heartbroken, but it was ultimately their property. My girlfriend blasted her parents, but I told her to just let it go. My mom said I was stupid to quit my job on verbal agreement. I didn't want to sour my relationship with them and just went low contact with them. I took another job. After 2 months, I got to know from my girlfriend that her sister was also planning to open their own restaurant. I was shocked because they didn't have any experience. According to them, how hard can it be to run a restaurant because hundreds of them are running all over the city? Although I was invited to the opening of their restaurant, I skipped going, citing prior work commitment. I maintained low contact with them all and got busy with my new job. Now, after 6 months, suddenly her parents invited me over again. Over dinner, they informed me that her sister's restaurant wasn't running smoothly and they were losing a lot of money every month. They wanted my help to run the restaurant. Her husband suggested that I work for them as a manager. I got really angry and said I wasn't unemployed and wasn't looking for a job. My girlfriend also got really angry. As things started to get heated, her parents suggested that I could join the business as a partner. They were even willing to loan me the money for my share. This way, I could be an equal partner in the business and I could pay them over the years. Sister and her husband agreed to this, but I straight away refused. Her sister and her husband said they're willing to compromise, and I'm just being an a-hole for holding to my ego. Her parents want us to get along even if I refuse their offer. I don't want their help, even if it means I have to keep working for years before I get to start my own business. I don't think I'm in the wrong here. So, AITA? NTA, even if they offered to give you the whole business free of charge, I wouldn't take it, much less paying in to join a failing restaurant. If you completely took over, it still has the taint of failure attached to the location, and that's the kiss of death for restaurants. Nothing to do with ego or petty revenge, it would just be a completely shit business decision.
Next story.
My husband recently got a new job at a private practice working for a cosmetic surgeon. He works on the business, financial end of the practice. The boss's wife is genuinely one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. I do struggle with my self-esteem, so I will admit there were times I didn't want to be around her. I know that is my issue, and she has never been unkind to me, so it's something I was willing to work through because my husband is very ambitious and networking is important to him. I've noticed the men he works with talk a lot about the boss's beautiful wife when the boss isn't around. I think it's kind of gross because 1, she isn't a piece of meat, and 2, she isn't even a trophy wife. She's a doctor as well. Recently, we got invited to her 40th birthday, and 2 of his co-workers were at our house and making a big deal about how they didn't know that she was 40. She doesn't look 40. This was right in front of their wives, one of whom was pregnant. At this point, I just feel bad for the woman because all the wives hate her and talk so much shit when she hasn't even done anything, just because these men are gross. Someone asked my husband if he knew she was 40. My husband said, yeah, because she graduated med school and has been practicing for like 10 years. I'm not surprised, but Kim Kardashian is also 40. So it is doable, but she is married to a plastic surgeon. Of course she's going to be the most beautiful woman in the world. I was in shock that he called her the most beautiful woman in the world. Of course, I don't actually think I am, but isn't he supposed to think that? I clap back that she really is gorgeous, and who knows what I would look like if he gave me half the lifestyle her husband gives her. My husband immediately got quiet and tried to laugh it off, but I knew I hurt him. He is very driven by money, and though he makes good money, he compares himself to men who make more, and his boss is loaded. When they left, he asked me how I could humiliate him like that, and said I let my insecurities get the better of me. ESH, you honestly both have insecurities to work on. He's not the most successful man in the world, and you're not the most beautiful. This is true for the vast majority of people on Earth, and it's fine. There's no reason to be that upset about it.